Hello, everyone. So glad to have you here for HSMAI's Recovery Connections. This is the 7th installment in this series, and today we're in the sales track with our session, Pivoting to Survive, the Customer Perspective on Sales Innovations in a COVID World. We have a terrific panel set up for you today that's been put together very thoughtfully by our Sales Advisory Board. We have two parts to today's session. First, we have a very esteemed panel of thought leaders who will provide actionable insights and really thoughtful content to you. And then if you're able to stay afterwards, at 3 o'clock, we'll do 15 minutes of roundtables. We have a great roundtable discussion topic teed up, and I hope that you'll be able to join us to continue the conversation and learn from your peers and colleagues in the industry. But first, a couple quick housekeeping announcements. One is I really want to thank our sponsor, GetGo. Sponsors make it possible, and we really couldn't do it without them. So thanks so much to Amy Infante, GetGo's CEO, and the GetGo team. Mark your calendar for next week's session. It's From Revenue to Profit. Can you make the shift? That's been put together by our Revenue Optimization Advisory Board. Really is all about the need in the coming times to have a laser focus on not just revenue, but really profit for every piece of business in hotels. If you have any trouble during today's session, Tech Help is standing by. There's a little pink circle in the bottom left corner of your screen. Just click on that and you'll find the help that you need there. During our panel discussion, please ask your questions. There's a chat screen over to the right side of your screen. If you click on Q&A at the top right and then enter your questions there, we'll get to as many as possible. If you can stay and join the conversation, once our panel is off the main stage, you'll be able to turn on your cameras and microphones and participate in conversation with the folks at your table. I want to emphasize this is a judgment-free zone. You do not have to be camera ready to participate. It's in your brains. That's what we're looking for you to share with your colleagues and table mates. It is your best practices, your ideas, your successes, and your questions. So I hope you'll join the conversation. If you do, just like with HSMAI's live events, remember that our confidentiality and antitrust guidelines apply. And that means we're not going to talk about things like pricing or costs or business terms, etc. If you need a copy of those guidelines, it's on the Recovery Connections website. Now, without further ado, I'd like to introduce our thought leaders for today. So Tim, Laura, Amy, and Jack, would you turn on your cameras and mics and join me on the main stage? There's Tim, terrific. All right, so now we just need Jack.
Yes.
Excellent. There's everybody. All right, Tim, I'm going to turn off my camera, but I'll be kind of in the wings. So if anything comes up, let me know, but I'll let you take it from here.
You got it. Thank you, Julie. And thank you, everyone, for joining us today for the customer's perspective on how to really innovate sales here in this COVID world. My name is Tim Flores. I'm with Groups 360. And as Julie pointed out, I'm joined today by 3 amazing leaders here from a lot of different segments in our industry who are going to provide us with some great insights. And so I'm going to let them introduce themselves, and we'll start with Amy, actually, from Genentech.
Hi. Hello, everybody. Thanks, Tim. So my name is Amy Prone. I am the Strategic Meetings Manager and the Hotel Program Manager at Genentech. So Genentech is the U.S. pharma arm of Roche Travel, which is based in Basel, Switzerland. And I am based, our offices are in South San Francisco, and I live in San Francisco.
Oh, great. Thank you, Amy. And then we'll go right down to Laura Liebman.
Hello, everybody, and thank you for the opportunity to speak with all of you today. And I also would like to give a thank you to IHG as they had invited me to join you today. I am the Executive Vice President of Frosh, which is a travel management company co-headquartered in New York City and Houston, Texas. We have offices worldwide, and my chief responsibility is overseeing all of our hotel and villa relations.
Great, thank you, Laura. Thanks for joining us today. And then last and certainly not least is Jack Richards.
Oh, thanks. Good morning in California. Good afternoon everywhere else. So I'm Jack Richards. I'm president and CEO of Pleasant Holidays. We're headquartered in Los Angeles, and we're one of the largest wholesale travel companies in the U.S., and we're owned by the Automobile Club of Southern California. You might know as AAA Travel. We focus almost 100% on leisure travel to beach destinations and other areas.
Great, thank you, Jack. And as Julie pointed out, there is the Q&A here on the right-hand side. So we want to make this as useful and powerful and make this time as valuable to you as possible. So as we're going through today, and if you even have follow-up questions for any one of our panelists, please feel free to let us know. And Julie and I are both monitoring that. So we'll be sure to get you guys the answers that you need. But to get things kick-started with our first question, we'll actually start with Amy. And we'll kind of go around the horn here. Amy, help us understand a little bit about what's happening in your sector right now. What are the mind of the travelers in your segment, and how are they really making decisions about travel today?
Well, the simple answer, Tim, is that they're really not making their own decisions. They're sort of being told. So, Genentech as a company has made very conservative decisions around activities in general as it relates to this pandemic that we're in. We started working from home, sheltering in place, whatever the words we're using today are, like 2 weeks before pretty much everybody else did. So, we basically kind of got shut down in a sense, and travel went with that. So it's business critical only right now. We're starting to see a little bit more of that pick up. Part of that was because we really wanted to be sensitive to the healthcare system and what was going on in hospitals and doctors' offices, and be respectful of doctors and patients and what everybody was going through, and kind of not get in everybody's way. But we've since started to go back to that a little bit. It's kind of been interesting to see the shift, even from healthcare providers' perspectives, going to more virtual meetings with us instead of us being in their offices or in clinical settings with them. So it's been extremely limited. The only people that are really out there are out there in the field, and it's very little. Same for meetings. Technically, I'm not even allowed to go to our campus or our offices. The only people that are there are business critical staff. So the staff that are kind of on the lines getting the products out to patients and hospitals and things like that. So, until we really start to go back to work ourselves in our offices, I don't see meetings coming back really either. They sort of set the criteria for what that looks like. It's aggressive in terms of just testing, vaccines, therapeutics, positivity rates, the counties in the Bay Area. I mean, it's complicated. So it seems a little bit like a stretch to me personally to be back anytime soon. It won't probably, my guess is we're sort of back to normal maybe mid next year.
Got it. Okay. Well, that's remotely optimistic to hear. Laura, what are you kind of feeling in your space, in your sector?
So thanks, Tim. I mean, Amy hit it on the head. When it comes to corporate travel, we're not seeing very much. And it is trickling in now. I would say that every company is assessing what's business critical, what they'll do, and then everybody has to make a different assessment. But we have seen travel bans lifted on the corporate side, and it's resuming, but very slowly. The leisure side is different. We're seeing some, wonderful bookings for the next 5 to 6 weeks, the festive period. It started with Thanksgiving, and so a lot of villa bookings, if you will, a lot of drive markets. Our clients want little to no restrictions when it comes to also getting to the destination fairly easily. So the drive markets have been very strong. I mean, right now you wouldn't see certain hotels on the East Coast getting $750 to $1,000 a night the way they can at now. And private jet, for some is also an easy way to travel, and so we've seen an increase on that side. Mexico is a good example because it's like living in a bubble. Once you're at the hotel, it's actually like being in a bubble. So it's a good example, and it's popular. people don't want openings and closings the way we saw, with Hawaii, by way of example. But our clients, they want control, they want the privacy, the exclusivity, which makes sense in a COVID world right now. So villa bookings, we've seen a tremendous increase in those bookings. And I'm sure that will continue. We're also seeing a lot of good bookings for June 2021 onwards. So I think that also makes a lot of sense, given that we all hope to see the dissemination of the vaccines in the next few months. So so we'll see. Leisure is definitely stronger than corporate. On the meeting side, our global conferences and events team, they're assisting, again, to Amy's point, they're assisting with virtual meetings for our clients as well. And time will tell how that market segment resumes.
Yeah, great. Again, great to see that there's some movement going on now.
Yes, definitely.
And again, similar again back to June. And Jack, I know that some of your customers have had some meetings as well. Can you tell us a little bit about kind of your segment as well?
Yeah, so leisure travel for us hit the lowest ebb in April and May, then started trickling back up during the summertime, went back down again in August, and then came back up. So it's been a real choppy affair, but although still below historic levels, we are seeing a pickup in leisure travel for the remainder of 2020 and into 2021. For example, during the month of November, we had 838 bookings for people traveling in 2020. So it's been extremely last minute. They are staying closer to home. We've seen a fairly significant shift in travel behavior away from international into more domestic. And, what I mean by that is Mexico and Caribbean, although international, are relatively close to the United States. So we are seeing a pickup in that. The group business, the leisure group business, which we define as also including weddings and honeymoons and things like that. We have 104 groups on the books for travel in 2021 and already 41 on the books for travel in 2022. This is not about price anymore. From our perspective, this is about safety and risk of infection going forward. So the hotel partners, the airlines, and all the travel industry that can convey safety and sanitization protocols are the ones getting the bookings. But we anticipate this continuing into 2021 and probably be back to roughly 50% of 2019 levels by the end of the second quarter and about 70% by the end of the third quarter. So we're quite optimistic, assuming that the vaccines get distributed and put out and distributed relatively quickly.
Yeah, that's great to hear. Well, today in our virtual audience, we've got a lot of salespeople. We've got a lot of great sales leaders. And, this is a hard time to sell, right? Again, just hearing kind of some of the stories, especially when we're thinking about group travel. I know Jack and Lori had some great stories about leisure travel. But, when you're talking to the sales teams here and the sales individuals, we'll start with Laura, actually. Can you articulate any innovative sales approach that, one of your suppliers has used during kind of this COVID time period that really stood out to you during this time?
Absolutely, Tim. And thank you for bringing that up, because there are actually a few examples I'd like to point to that I find truly commendable and just very smart, frankly, during this period. So, it's all about time. We've all had a lot of time to think about what's important and to us, and to, spend the time in a very valuable way with loved ones and just appreciate time in general. So the first example I want to turn to is a company that has now put in place a flexible check-in and check-out time for all of their hotels. And so what that means is you as the guest can arrive at 6 a.m. on the day of arrival and check in. You can leave at 10 p.m. on the day of departure. You pick the times you want to check in and check out and do not incur any additional cost as a result, okay? That is their way of saying, we place a value on your time. We want to make sure that you realize that and that you are using your time the best way you can, all right? So that's a fantastic way to address things today. Another company, several of them actually, what they've done is put a special promotion in place for connecting rooms. So you can get a discount on purchasing a connecting room. But what's really clever is how you use that connecting room. Okay, so what they're saying is today, maybe you want to use that room as your office. Maybe you want to use it to educate your child online. Or maybe you want to convert it into a gym, okay? Because again, we're living in a period of health and wellness now, okay? That is the future, frankly, all right? Wellness. And so what a great way to say I'm integrating that very important area into your stay so that now you can have that gym, your own private gym next door, right? So I think that has been an incredibly creative solution. Others have come out with extended stay offers that again are offering you special amenities. You want to stay for 30 days or more? Well, guess what? I'm going to give you some unique amenities, like maybe some personal training sessions during the week, right? And give you a price break as well on that extended stay period. So I think that's another creative one. Having flexible cancellation policies are so critical to our clients today. And no, you know, we all want to travel. I think the majority of us do, you know, in the sense that many of us are used to it. I mean, Amy, I know you're used to traveling. Jack, you too. And I personally love it. And I can't wait to getting back to fulfilling my own travel dreams and those of our clients and building memories, okay? So knowing that I'm not going to be penalized if I cancel 60 days in advance, you know, or 30 days in advance even, is a huge selling point. So one company has gone above and beyond and said, guess what? You can cancel up to 4 p.m. on the day of arrival. Okay, that's huge. So, so these are all ways I believe that we're able to show our clients, travelers today, we care. And we want to make it as easy, as stress-free, as safe as we can as possible for you. I mean, I am gonna, you know, give a shout out to IHG. I do think that, you know, more exclusive experiences are needed where again people feel secure. I used Villa Travel as an example previously because, you know, again, that is a great way to control your travel experience. And IHG has recognized the importance of villas today. We have our own villa program. They've been incredibly supportive of that. And I think that in general, what it comes down to is our best partners are those who are responding incredibly well when we say to them, hey, I have a client who has this issue, okay? Guess what? Someone got diagnosed or somebody in their family or a friend was, and they have to cancel. And are you able to help me? So companies like that are standout for me without even coming up with any creative solution, as you will, or creative sales approach.
No, that's great. Yeah, I mean, flexibility and partnership, right? During times like this, they're uncertain. That's what people are looking for.
That's right.
Yeah, that's great, Laura. What about you, Jack? Anything that you're seeing like an innovative sales approach from the hotel side?
Yeah, I would agree. The number one is the flexible change and cancel policies. Without that, you're not even in the consideration set anymore. So we have seen some hotels doing virtual fam trips with our sales team and their sales team. And it lets the travel advisors really look at the cleaning and sanitization protocols, which I think is very good. Some hotel partners are deploying low season strategies for first quarter 2021 already. And then one of the things that we noticed is that we're connected with 104 different hotel chains worldwide. And a lot of them are limiting their rates to 12 months in advance, which we do not believe is a very good strategy because we're already taking bookings for 2022 and 2023. So we've seen several hotel chain partners elongate out their rates and inventory for 3 years. And I think that's a strategy that, given the pandemic, you may want to consider, simply because build your base of business now a couple of years in advance, and then you can always change the rates and inventory going forward. So I think that's very, very positive. We've seen a lot of response. We have honeymoons and other leisure people that are booking 2 years in advance. So they might want to consider that. And then a very simplistic thing. So don't laugh about that, but let us know if your hotel is open. We are having customers arrive at hotels that are closed because a lot of people have been furloughed. They're not there. That is a very negative experience. So communicate with us. The more you communicate with us, the more business you're going to get.
Yeah, that's great. Yeah, so we've got flexibility, we've got partnership, we've got communication. Amy, wrap it up here. What else are you seeing for innovative sales approaches?
Well, I definitely agree with all of that. I think that showing up as a partner, and really an example, when we first kind of shut down, if you will, we were an essential business, right? So our manufacturing didn't stop and couldn't stop. So we worked with hotel partners near our sites in the U.S., Oregon, Kentucky, California, and tried to make it so that our employees who were working long shifts or for whatever reason didn't want to go home or, whatever that looked like, that we had some key hotel partners work with us to help us even with like the payment solution of what does that look like? How can we just tell the person, tell the team member, just go there, it'll get billed to us, don't worry about it. That's not something we had set up before because we just have our corporate cards. These type of, this staff didn't because they don't travel, right? They just work on sites. So now, like, how can we make that experience easy for them? And how can our partners help us do that? And, the flexibility and the willingness just to work with us on something like that is huge, and it makes a difference to the experience of our employees. So the flexibility, the partnership, the communications, all of it, some fun, creative things. I think that, we've talked about this in our pre-calls, that connection that we're missing with everybody. I've spent a really long time in this industry, and that's what we love about it. We love the connections that we're making with our colleagues, and we miss that. It's been almost a whole year of not having had that. And, I've seen a couple of my favorite things were one of the hotel chains asked us what our favorite drink was. And they sent us the little tiny bottles like you'd get from the mini bar with a glass, and we had a happy hour. I've seen my favorite. I'm a huge music lover. If you can see the posters behind me, they're from concerts. The virtual concerts some of the hotel chains have done have been super cool and really fun and have felt intimate and special. And yeah, we're on a screen and we're not sitting there together, but it was cool and it was fun and different, and it was engaging. And I think that connecting with us is still important and it still matters.
No, Amy, and that's a great segue. Kind of the next question that we had as well is, if you're someone in sales sitting on this call today, and again, how can they reach out to you? What is the best way for them to connect and sell to you? You mentioned concerts and things like that, and Jack, we'll start with you this time around. What is that way that they can make that connection with you, especially as you're actually seeing business going through what you do, which is great. But how can they start getting attention from you and the team?
Well, one of the interesting things during the pandemic is that corporate travel at hotels used to be the #1 segment, and now everybody's turned their attention to leisure because leisure is selling. And, one of the interesting things about leisure is that we occupy the hotels both midweek and weekend. So we have added 400 new hotel partners during the pandemic. That's all been going through back and forth through our product teams, all major hotel chains such as IHG, Marriott, Hyatt, Hilton, and others. We are expanding. We've been very aggressive in expanding, and I think leisure is going to continue to be very, very important to us. We have an average stay of 6.3 nights. So I think it is very important that hotels reach out to us, and our ADR is not low because we're focused on the upscale luxury segment of the market. So I think we have a lot to offer, including the leisure group section. But the most important thing is find us, open up a dialogue. Let's start communicating with one another. There's only one thing I know for sure. We have to rethink the way we're going to work together going forward, because it's not going to be business as usual. And unless we change, you're simply not going to get the business. I think I can tell you that the people that are getting the most of our business today are the ones that are contacting us and have set up regular meetings either every other week or every week to discuss innovative strategies to drive demand, and it's working. So I would encourage them to do that. Don't sit on the sidelines. Be proactive, be aggressive. This thing will turn around one day, and you want to be well positioned when it does.
No, that's great advice, Jack. And Amy, does that look different for you? I know you're kind of on pause for you now until I know you're anticipating June. So is that a different approach potentially for someone in your position at a corporate?
Yes and no. I would say that the more meaningful and purposeful the communication can be, the better off we're going to be, right? So if you have questions, ask me what those questions are, right? Let's be strategic in what we're doing together and how we're communicating. To just say, hey, how's it going? That's a lot of email every day just to sort of answer like a random question, right? So I would say the more meaningful, the more purposeful. Everybody who knows me, if you ask the question, I'll answer it the best I can, and I'll be as transparent as possible. So I would say that when you are going to reach out, make it meaningful, make it purposeful, whether it's just with the email, whether it's with like the virtual cocktail hour or the concert or, whatever that looks like, I think is going to be, the best way for us to continue to work together. And just like Jack said earlier, letting us know what's going on. Is your hotel open? Is it closed? We've seen, like Lars said, a lot of the day rates, where the work from this hotel, has been coming up a lot too, which is helpful as we start to think about going back and getting out of our homes and stuff like that. So that kind of communication is actionable for us. And it's something that we can share with our leadership teams. It's something we can do something with. We can share with our travelers when those times can come. So to me, that's sort of the most effective.
Yeah, I think that's great. Yeah, Jack's all about communication. Again, call it the purpose for Amy. And Laura, what about yourself?
So at the end of the day, it is all about communication. It's just the content is what may be a variable for everybody. But in some cases, there is overlap. For us, yes, the most significant communication we've had would be, say from a hotel company that tells us, okay, hotel by hotel, these are my facilities that are open. These are my hotels that are open in general, but at each hotel, this is exactly what you can access, okay, and how you access it. Because today, a travel advisor's job is so much more complex and difficult than it's ever been in the past. They are assisting our clients with COVID protocols, okay? Do I need to quarantine here? What do I need to get in here? Can you help me get tested and tell me what test I need? On top of everything else they've done in the past to book that travel. And then once they book that hotel, you've got to manage expectations and be able to advise the client, no, I'm sorry, you're going to have to make an appointment to go and use the treadmill in the gym. You're going to only be able to go to the spa at this time. And by the way, these are the new protocols for having a massage treatment, okay? So it's a lot of information that has to be processed and communicated. So we rely again on our strongest partners to provide us with that information. Now, the advisors though are looking for. Amy touched on this, and everybody is zoomed out today, and so you've got to make it interesting. And so from the TMC perspective, we don't want to see just pictures of rooms and hear about the square footage, okay? Our advisors want to have a more interactive virtual experience where they're being walked through the property so that they can then better advise clients, because they may not physically be able to visit that property. So now they're getting the next best experience through that virtual tour. They like the engagement when it comes to, you know, some new specialty cocktail that's being prepared by, you know, some well-known bartender, or you've got a pastry chef that's making some, you know, creative concoction and showing them how to prepare it, you know, on property. After they come up with that new drink special for the call, they jump into the pool fully clothed, and you don't expect it. Well, isn't that fun to watch someone do that, you know, if you can't do that right now? So it's things like that that just make it a bit more exciting and interesting, if you will. And also, you know, we can't lose sight of having fun, okay? We may not be able to travel right now. And yes, having all that information is critical, right? So that everybody feels confident to travel and safe when they travel. But you also want to have fun. So make it fun for the people who are helping you to then get you, the travelers, you know, so that Amy can get on the road and be, you know, happy and confident in her travel experience, right? They want to see general managers. At the end of the day, we have those partnerships, you know, so why wouldn't the general manager be the one presenting? So we're seeing more of that now, because we would see those individuals in person normally. But now with people not in offices, it's important to maintain that presence virtually. So so that's a little bit about what's important, I think, when it comes to all communication.
Yeah, I think that's great. And Laura, again, just to point out to the audience, again, I think you brought up some great points, right? Be your local destination expert, right? Let the planner know what's going on in your market. How is COVID affecting, you know, what the testing guidelines, what are those? So that, again, it's not on the planner to look those up, that you can be that expert. But also it's important, from what Laura said, to also set the expectation once they arrive on property. What is the experience for check-in, for the spa that she mentioned, and things like that. So again, destination expert, setting expectations, and of course, have fun. Jump in the pool with your clothes on. Get your general manager involved, just like you would typically. Let's continue to do that.
That's what it's about,
again,
travel. It's
agreed.
fun.
I know we got about 20 minutes or so left. I'm going to focus more on the Q&A, and these are just going to be open for the group. So again, please, everyone in the audience, feel free to use the Q&A. And again, you have the option to upvote some of the questions. We might not be able to get all of these questions in time. And so we're not going to ask all of our panelists to answer every question, but again, please feel free to answer if you can. So the one that has the most votes right now is, what do you see as the longer term, 2 to 3 years, the future of meetings and travel? Will companies go back to 2019 levels, or have things changed really forever because of COVID? So anyone have any thoughts or opinions on that?
I could take that if you want. You know, I think that it's every time there's a crisis, there's this, we're going to do everything virtual idea, right? And I think that the difference between this one and maybe the last few is technology's come a long way. So I do think there's probably some merit to that. I think that we've all been home for a year and most of us can't wait to get out again. So I do think that there will be some of that. What we're seeing on the corporate side is there's also this, it's sort of been tested now, right? We've never really tested it like this for this long, with a real full stop of a time like this. So I think what companies have now caught on to, and there's been a couple articles I think out there about it now, is this idea that we can reduce our CO2 emissions. So for us on the corporate side, you know, it's one of our initiatives as a company. I know it's several others as well, that now's the opportunity and the time to, you know, not stop traveling, but figure out what can we do virtually? When do we need to fly? When and why are we flying? And how can that affect our impact on the planet? You know, and there was a consulting firm, I can't remember the name, BCG, I think, that just came out with a huge commitment to reducing their CO2 emissions. And it's not that different from us, and I think a lot of my colleagues. So I think that companies are seeing the opportunity in sustainability. Will it ever be back to 2019? From a corporate perspective, I doubt it. I really don't think so. I think it might get close. It's hard to say. Mm-hmm. You know, I think there's this, everybody goes into this mode of, we're going to do all these things differently, and it doesn't last. Will it last this time? It's hard to say. I don't know.
Yeah, it's fair.
Tim, I'll jump in. I think taking that a step further, drilling Amy's response down some more. I think that it depends on the type of meeting. Okay, let's not forget that you can have group travel as a category, and within that you could have celebrations, right? So that's going to resume, in my opinion. Okay, and I think you're going to see the multi-gen travel because too many people have been apart from their loved ones. Too many people have missed out on key celebrations during this time. And I think that's going to come back. Now, as for types of meetings, what I mean by that is that, we have some clients who, perhaps they do big meetings that are sales meetings where they're bringing in their clients, okay? We have in pre-calls talked about the importance also of being in person, right? I don't think you can take away the importance or significance of being in person for those types of meetings. When you have new business that you're trying to develop, I don't think there's a replacement for the in-person meeting. So I think that type of meeting will come back definitely, okay? And so time will tell, but I'm optimistic that we will get back there. I think it will take time without a doubt. But I think depending on the specific type of meeting, some will come back faster than others.
Yeah, Tim, just a comment. We handle some insurance company sales incentives, Silicon Valley sales incentive programs, and not really seeing a lot for 2021, but they are rebooking for 2022. So they're pushing them out a year later. So I think that my opinion is they will come back. They'll be in a different format. They'll be a lot more private, but I think they will come back. I don't think they'll get to 100%. I agree with Amy. I think, but I think they will come back in some form.
Yeah, that's great. That's positive. And yeah, Laura, I think the different types of groups, right? Sports groups are coming back. You can already see, people are traveling for their kids' sports, right? They want to have them still engaged. To your point, yeah, the celebrations might be the same thing. So that's our next top question. Again, 3 upvotes here, folks. Again, keep upvoting. Hotels are thinking more about non-traditional revenue generation. I think Laura touched upon this a little bit. Selling more than just room, space, food, and beverage. Where do you see the opportunities for non-traditional sales? Hopefully I emphasize you enough because that was in caps. Any thoughts or ideas, Jack, Amy, Laura?
Well, I can tell you what we did. So we were experiencing so many cancellations during the pandemic that in July, we actually came out with a trip protection plan that we put in place for a flat $99 per person that includes COVID-19 cancellation up to and including the day of departure. And it also protects 100% of the commission for the travel advisor. And we're seeing penetration rates now in the 75% range, meaning 75% of all the bookings are carrying this policy. We would have never thought about that before, but it's a ancillary product that we think as we get into 2021, we'll see penetration rates in the 80-85% range, and that's ancillary revenue.
Interesting. We're going to hop to the next question just because I know we got some more that are coming in. I'm going to make sure we try to get to all of them if we possibly can. Next question is that you hear about pent-up demand at the same time you hear about financial hardships from companies. How do you think this will balance out overall in demand when it's going to be, again, safe to travel, which I think a lot of us are kind of saying, hopefully, fingers crossed, mid-June of next year?
That's a tough one. I think that, for a lot of companies, including ours, we have the healthcare, system has been, and pharmas have been affected because you hear about people delaying their doctor's appointments, maybe not getting their screenings done, not getting treated, delaying treatment. So that has certainly affected a lot of pharma and their sales. I think that it's probably not affected us as much as people personally or other companies. I think for us to come back, it's not going to be about finances. It's going to be about safety. and it's going to be about, again, why, like the more meaningful approach to where are you going? Why are you going? I agree with Laura. I think it's going to be about, you can't replace certain things. You know, handshakes are still important. Eye contact, still important. You know, getting to know people as human beings matters. You know, so it's going to be, I think, more purposeful when we get back. And I think that, you know, the financial companies and people are going to learn to try to balance that out. Like, where are they really going to spend their money and on what, and how are they going to be mindful in how they do that?
I think Amy's spot on when it comes to corporate travel. I think every business, I mean, we're going to do the same, and we are doing the same as far as, you know, some of us have continued to travel. I've traveled extensively. My brother has traveled extensively. You know, so every business has to look at, you know, where they need to travel and where it makes sense to travel, and ensure that everyone feels safe doing so. And what protocols are they going to put in place to ensure that everyone is safe and protected? Now, leisure is very different. That pent-up demand is going to blow. Okay, I truly believe that. And I think by Q2 next year, we're going to see that start to explode. And people are ready to go. And when that vaccine is out, they're going. So we're seeing the start of that now, thankfully. Like I mentioned, the next 5 to 6 weeks look good on the leisure side and beyond June. But I do believe that that we're going to see it before June, once the vaccine starts getting out there. So I look forward to that, and it's coming.
Yeah.
Yeah, Tim, we're seeing the luxury segment actually recover the fastest. So the luxury segment is booking, and we're seeing very big bookings come in the 150 to 250,000 range. People are booking, and it's recovering much faster than the other segments, and we think that'll continue.
Mm-hmm. Agreed.
Yeah, that's great. You know, in your guys' minds, are there, for corporate booking tools, are they changing with corporate travelers, especially, you know, with our COVID policies being loaded in and things like that? Is all that changing? I know Amy's nodding her head, and Laura as well.
Yeah. So I would say first, I'm with Laura. I cannot wait to get out. I will get on that plane as soon as is humanly possible. So I totally agree with that. Yeah. So for us, we use Concur, and so they get messages that ask them to call the corporate travel office, which is completely opposite of what we usually tell them to do, which is use the booking tool. So they get all kinds of messages that say, you know, don't book in here, call the travel office, you know, so it's pretty much shut down for now. There are groups that are allowed to use it in very small, little tiny segments of the organization, but for the most part, it's, you're not really allowed to go anywhere. And if you want to go somewhere, you need to call the travel office and make sure it's managed. And it's a human being at the other end of the phone is really doing all those checks and balances.
Got it.
And I can just add to that and say it varies by company. You've got HR involved for some, as well as the travel department. You've got procurement involved. I mean, it just depends on how each company is handling it. But there's definitely many more tiers or steps involved now, a red tape, if you will, to travel.
Yeah, I'm sure. And, you know, we have a great question to actually end us off today in our last couple of minutes. We talked a lot about, you know, things are going to look a lot different coming out of this than they were going into this. And so what do you guys think are those long-lasting changes to the customer's path to purchase that will potentially change forever? Is it potentially like the way that things are booked? Is there going to be more of a technology focus on looking at booking things? Is there going to be, you know, different mindset of people?
Yeah, I think for us, we're seeing a huge shift in the booking window for travel. That we think that's going to continue for an extended period of time because people are, you know, the news is changing so rapidly. So we think the booking window is shortening. that will continue for at least the next 14 to 18 months, in our opinion.
To add to that, technology will certainly integrate a lot of what we'll need in the future. We're already seeing that, different pilot programs that are out there, whether it's a mobile pass program to document that you're negative before you fly on your boarding pass, to be able to pull that up electronically, is I think something we're going to see. I think when the vaccines come out, it'll extend to incorporate that, to demonstrate that you've been vaccinated when you fly. It's sort of like going on safari and making sure that you've had your yellow fever vaccination. For certain countries, it'll become the norm. Certain countries may not even let you in unless you have been vaccinated. So, and I spend time in Grand Cayman, where my husband lives, and maybe that's something that's going to become the norm for some of the islands, to ensure that they've protected, their residents and can address any medical needs as they arise. So I think technology will be huge. I think it will also include, from our corporate client perspective, being able to document in their profiles, in individual profiles, what vaccinations and testing has been done as well, to better assist our travelers. So I think that's something that we'll see. And there have to be changes. We know that, in order to get back on the road. So that's just part of it.
Yeah, that's great. And have a spouse that lives in the Caymans. I got it. Okay.
I'm here now, but New York is home as well. So.
Well, awesome. Well, listen, I know we're right at time. And listen, on behalf of our audience, I can hear their applause in my ear right now. Huge thanks to Amy, Laura, and Jack for your thoughts and insights today. They were truly great and impactful. Really do appreciate it. And thank you all for joining us today. I'm going to turn this back over to Julie with HSMAI. So thank you all again.
Thanks, Tim.
Great.
Tim.
Thanks, Tim. And thanks, Amy, Laura, and Jack. It's been a real pleasure getting to know the three of you as you've been preparing for today's session. And I just really appreciate your sharing your insights with our audience and our stakeholders. So I hope we'll have you back again. I just a couple things for everybody before we move into the next part of our program. Again, just thank you to our sponsors. For those who are looking for a recording to this session, by this time tomorrow, it will be on the Recovery Connections website under On-Demand Learning. You'll find it there, and you should also get a email notification when it's posted. So stay tuned in the next 24 hours. If you're looking for more sales education and training, we have a really terrific new program called the Hotel Digital Sales Essentials course. It's a 6-week instructor-led course that really just gets rave reviews from those who participate in it. You can check out a little bit more information about that. Now, for our connections portion, once I send you back to your tables, you want to make sure your cameras and microphones are on. You can move to any open seat just by double-clicking on it. And when you get to your table with your fellow table lists, introduce yourselves. So who you are, what you do, and just for fun, why don't you start with the person with the shortest hair and work your way to the longest for today, so you know what order to go in. And we'll spend 15 minutes in discussions. Here's your question. How about share with each other what the best innovation you've seen in hotel sales is in 2020? And that can be inside of your organization or outside of your organization. It can be in the hotel industry, it can be outside. So what are the best innovations that you've seen? And I'll look forward to seeing you at next week's Recovery Connection session.